Are you kidding? Amazing. Fabulous. Perfection. Snatched. Okay, this is gonna be for my more advanced makeup wearers today. We're going to be talking about contour, specifically contour, and how you can literally change your face with it. This is one of the things that like really attracted me to makeup. As a person with a background in art who was obsessed with drawing faces and specifically like an obsession with anatomy, contour just like holds a special place in my heart, okay? It just does. And there's a whole conversation to be had about the psychology behind why we feel we need to manipulate our features. That is a topic that I am extremely passionate about. And if you want a more like real video where I sit down and kind of talk about how I reckon with the love of contour and changing your features and also the mental health side of things, let me know. Happy to do that. Topic that I'm super passionate about. We're not talking about any of that today. Today I'm simply showing you how you can change your face with contour. Now, I have a history of changing up my contour routines constantly throughout my life, trying different things, okay? And I recently experienced quite a bit of weight gain as a result of basically like just a deep dive into my mental health. I'll link a video up here where I talk more about that if you are interested. And as a result of that, it has forced me to kind of like play around with different styles, different techniques, and really pay a little bit more attention, I guess, to the details of contour. So I have spoken about this a little bit in the past. I do not have a particularly strong jaw, okay? If I turn to the side, you can see that this little guy goes, it's just a little guy. It's just a little guy, okay? And it's like back here a little bit. And when I experience weight gain, that's the first place that I see it, is like very much in my jaw. So my face generally is a little bit more heart-shaped, but when I gain weight, it gets a little bit heavier, like in this area, as you can see, just a little bit heavier in that area, which sort of like squares out my face a little bit more. Not necessarily a square, maybe kind of like a rounded square. Face shapes, am I right? Actually, that's a really important topic too, and if you are curious, I'll link another video up here talking more so about how to do your makeup for your face shape, because it's not just about face shape. Anyway, so for me, facelift, creating a facelift is like a big thing in the makeup world, and generally it's focused more so on the upper part of the face with like highlights up here and, using your contour in a specific angle on your cheekbones or at your temples or the way that you do your eye make to give the face more of a lift, but it doesn't focus as much on the lower face, which is where I want to focus more so. As we get older, gravity obviously is a thing. And I have noticed that like my eyelids have come down a little bit further, but like, I'm cool with that. Like I'm chilling, you know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily feel the need to like correct that. So if you feel like you've been kind of like left out and the lower face, the jawline, this whole area is something that you really care about and want to learn how to kind of like manipulate, this is for you, bro. So let's get right into it. Let's just get like right into it. Let's just like do it. So I have a few different contour products that I really love in terms of my skin tone. I'm not gonna go as much into color, although it's going to be a little bit of a topic, but if you want a video where I swatch all of my contour products, if you feel like you're like around my skin tone, or maybe you're just like pale and you're looking for options, let me know. I can do that and we can compare so that you can see like what is going to work best for your skin tone. The products that work best for my skin tone, powder wise, this is the contour powder from Etude. I think I got it on Amazon. You can get it on like Yes Style and that other one, Style Vana. This one is in the shade Illumination. It's like very, very similar, if not basically exactly the same, as the palette in the shade Creator, okay? So we have like a little bit more of a bronzy shade, and then this is just like a beautiful, more olive-toned contour shade. Gorgeous, beautiful powder. It blends stunningly. Like I can't even talk about it. It's so beautiful. In terms of creams, if you're looking for a more olive contour shade, CoverGirl Skin Enhancer Balm in the shade Defined. Incredible. Like, look at that. It's amazing if you just like hold it next to like where my skin naturally, you know, shows shadows. It's like the same color. It's like so incredible. And then something I have been using recently, again, I came back to the Sephora contour in the shade, I think Fair Light. Yes, Fair to Light, which is slightly more, it's got a little bit more of like a red tone. I would say that it's like a cool toned, almost like more purpley kind of shade, and that's why I like it, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. So let's talk a little bit about like what we're trying to achieve here. I have just foundation and concealer on. I didn't do any highlighting. I just did like a little bit of concealing. So I have a very flat base right now, which is, you know, essentially what we're doing when we're using things like foundation and concealer. We are sort of flattening out the depth in our skin because we're applying one color to it. So now with contour and also bronzer and blush, which we're not going to be focusing on as much in this video, although I might show you bronzer, we are bringing the life back, the color and the life and the structure back to the face strategically, okay? So when I am looking at my face in terms of like what I want to do with my contour, especially for my lower jawline, what I like to do is I got this, look at this little chin. Look at this little chin. Do you see this line here? The cat just went in the litter box. I'm gonna wait, but they did just use it and I just cleaned it. So, ma'am, the way she just pranced out of the bathroom is so cute. Okay, so let's take a look at my face. Like, what are we trying to achieve here? Take a look at my chin. You can see this sort of like natural line, like right here. And then if I just double chin it up a little bit, you can see like where that line would naturally meet up with the outer part of my jawline. Okay, so that's basically like, I kind of want to create the illusion that like this whole area, this is pushed back in space, okay? So we're sort of sharpening up that jawline, kicking a few years and or pounds off the face. Now this is an area that I've always felt strongly about. I have always wanted to kind of sharpen up my jawline because like I said, it's not quite that sharp. So I just like to define it a little bit more. When I was, you know, a few years younger and maybe 10 to 15 pounds thinner, I was able to do this kind of haphazardly. Like I was able to kind of just like stick my chin out and be like, do, 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 do. And sometimes I would bring it up a little bit and up a little bit. And I would use like one color and I wasn't thinking that much about it. I mean, obviously I was blending because like I'm me, but I wasn't thinking that hard about it and I could get away with it and it looked great. However, as you gain weight and get older, you have to be much more aware of the colors, the amounts, and the placement of the product. Ziva, why do you do this? So I am going to be using multiple products. I'm going to start off with the CoverGirl contour. I'm going to just put it on the back of my hand. I'm going to really like work it into the back of my hand, like a decent amount. Look at that color. Ooh, like, is that the best contour color you've ever seen from my skin tone in the entire world? Stop. Stop it right now. And I'm going to use quite a bit of this because this is like really going to be our hero color. We're not going to use all of this product, but you know. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the Sephora one, which is quite a bit darker. And then I'm just going to do a dab, just a little dab of my foundation. I used the House Labs foundation in the shade 030. I'm just going to call it 030 from now on. So this is going to be your little palette. You can use obviously like a little palette if you have one. Again, I said this is for more advanced makeup wearers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the very under part of my chin, okay, of my jawline. So if I just double chin it up, do you see this sort of like U shape that happens? It's like here, it's like this and this. It all kind of becomes one little unit. Okay, so I'm actually going to start off with this area right here. And I'm going to start off with the darkest color, which is that Sephora contour. Buff my brush into it. And again, this is like a very, very pigmented contour. So a little bit goes a long way, especially if you are, you know, light to pale. And I'm going to double chin it up a little bit. And I'm going to just gently start to shade this area that comes forward until it starts to kind of disappear. Okay? This whole area right here. And make sure that you are applying the shade, the product, in the area that you want the most shadow. So the area that you want to be the darkest, which is why I started right here. So just underneath my chin. And I'm using my 38 brush, which is available in Sephora's in Hong Kong. How cool is that? Like, what? Isn't that cool? It's in Sephora. What? It doesn't feel real. I don't know if you guys heard, but like Refer posted like a little thingy. It's so cool. Anyway, shout out to the 38. She really is that girl. Okay, so do you see already that difference? So I'm gonna take my time just sort of feathering this. Going back and forth in this U shape. And then as I get out here, I'm just gonna kind of diffuse it sort of in that line from my chin. Yeah, I wanna make sure that I'm not like accidentally taking it like onto my chin here. Cause I like that comes forward, right? So just in line, which is why this brush is so great for this, because it has this really nice point that it comes to up here. So it gives you the precision to just kind of like diffuse into the shape of your face that is already existing. Okay, so do you see how much we've already done? So crazy. Picking up just like a teeny little bit more. And on this side, it's a little bit more on this side. Can you see? There's just like, it's a little bit larger over here. So same thing. Slow, keeping the double chin. And diffusing into that line. And then this area is already like well enough defined. I don't really want to take a ton of makeup out here because the more you apply all over the place, it just ends up looking like a little bit too heavy, especially for me because I have a pixie. Anyone standing behind me, you know, like if that's not perfectly blended and that's a hard area to see, it's gonna be really obvious. So just diffusing. And then now that I've got that down, I'm just going to buff so that it's blending down in a kind of triangle shape. If we look at like this area, kind of like in that triangle shape. So we don't just have this like harsh line that goes underneath the chin. This is where a hand mirror is super important. Or if you have like one of those like double mirrors in your bathroom, you know, like when you open up the medicine cabinet and you have like a mirror on this side of the wall. Does anybody have that? And you can like check out the side of you. I have this little like Melt Cosmetics mirror and I always will turn and be like, okay, what is going on here? Like how blended are we? Because you do not want any harsh lines. So for instance, right here looks a little bit harsh and I don't need to cover up this. I don't want to cover up this jaw right here. That's going to do the opposite of what I want. So I'm just going to buff a little bit right there. So that's not bad. Now I'm going to go into my more green contour, which is a little bit lighter and I don't need to use quite as much. And I'm going to address this area right here. So like, I don't want to call it a jowl, but I know someday that's what it's going to be. So if I turn my face like this, basically like this little area right here, okay? So I'm just gonna dip into the product really lightly and putting it on the back of your hand. It might feel like you're wasting a lot of product because you might have some left over, but it's really going to prevent you from applying too much, which is just gonna look crazy. It's gonna look crazy, okay? I like to kind of follow. Did you see that? When I like, sometimes when I'm talking, you can see this like line that goes from this edge of my chin up to my cheekbone. That's kind of like the area that we want to focus on this side. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. Right from this line, and then it just goes up here. So what I'm trying to sort of reduce is this area right here, okay? So what I'm gonna do, and I guess we can start on this side, is I'm going to slowly, from this line, starting from that line, I'm going to blend upward. Watch this magic. So I'm gonna blend in that line, but I want you to think in this area, okay? So cut off here, this area. And we're just gently buffing with that line in mind. We're not connecting. I'm not going all the way up to my chin. I'm just diffusing out. And then I'm sort of turning my brush to feather it out this way. Okay? Can you see that? Especially when I turn my face this way. It really, really makes that little area recede back in space. Okay? I'm gonna do the other thing on the other side. I'm gonna do it on the other side. So it helps to turn your face so that you can really like see. And obviously like I'm looking at the monitor, but if I do this in the mirror, it's actually a lot easier. It's actually a lot easier to see. You can really see that line. So same thing, just buffing gently up with that line in mind, not taking it onto the chin because that'll defeat the purpose. I want this to come forward. And just gently diffusing into that line and then out. And if you feel like you're removing product, I always talk about this, like if you feel like you're, you know, someone who has acne, maybe you have a breakout in that area, don't feel like you have to swipe. You can absolutely just use really, really light patting motions to maintain coverage in that area. Do you see that? You see what different, like when my head is straight on, you see the difference that has just made? Isn't that crazy? Now, obviously, you can always go back in with your sponge or your brush. Actually, I have this Delium Tools brush that I used initially to just diffuse around the edges, because what we don't want are any harsh lines, especially on the lower part of our face. And then make sure you're going back to that mirror. Okay. So I can see a bit of a shadow here. I'm just gonna make sure that this part of my jaw is defined. Same thing over here. Okay, so now, look at it. If I do a little double chin, we haven't completely changed my anatomy, but like we have created a nice soft contour down here that has just helped to define my chin. And it's not obvious, it's not bringing anything to attention. It's just those tiny little refinements that are just making things look a little bit more snatched. After this part, because I did use those two colors, and the reason that I use those two colors is because this color is much more of an olive shade. And because my skin is a little bit more of a warm olive, and because I'm pale, my skin's translucent, okay? I have a bunch of different colors that are coming through. I like using two different colors for this. This shade, compared to this, has a little bit more red in it, but it is less apparent in my skin tone overall. I see a lot more, of this shade. You know what? I'm not gonna use the foundation, so I'm actually just gonna get rid of that because it's in the way. The reason I put the foundation out is I wanted to give you the option, if you are someone who is really pale, mix a little bit of your foundation in with a contour color. Don't just go in with that product because it can end up being like way too much. Sometimes you try to sheer it out so much that it removes coverage. So if you feel like you love the Sephora contour, but it's just really, really dark or really, really pigmented, just mix a little bit of your foundation and sheer it out to make it a little bit softer if you're someone who tends to be a little bit heavy-handed. So yeah, I don't know why I put that out, but that's a tip, that's really helpful. So as someone who's super pale and has like a translucent skin tone, there are a lot of colors that are happening in our face. So using two separate colors it's really going to make things look like very, very natural. I like using the Sephora one because it's, like I said, it's a little bit darker, and it really creates, like, when you have those subtle variations in those color shifts, it really just looks more like skin. And that's why I like it the best. The reason I don't reverse it is because number one, one is a little bit darker, and number two, this is much more olive toned and it looks a lot more like the natural colors of my, like, contours of my face. Like, even if we just look at my natural little, like, dupe right there in my cheekbone, I see way more of this color. I don't see this. Like, it's just a little bit too purpley red, you know? Once you have this set up, then you can kind of like reassess and be like, okay, do I need any touch-ups? Like, did I completely remove that nice, you know, defined line here with my application? I don't feel like I did. Over here maybe, like, do I need to sharpen up this line at all? And remember, just keep things light. What I like to do, if I feel like I need a little bit of something more, then I'll just kind of tap back and forth between the two of them. Okay, this might not be completely necessary. I mean, is any of it necessary? But, like, it's these tiny little details that take time and effort that really make a difference. Okay, so now I just want to kind of like see, you know what? I think I want to sharpen up this area right here. So I'm just gonna take the tip of the brush in the tiniest little amount. And the first thing I'm gonna do is just place it down there. See how we sharpened up the jaw right there? We're not done. I'm just gonna place that right there. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more. And on this side, right here, kind of the same thing. So I'm just using the tip of the brush, do a little bit of refining. Okay. See that difference? God, it's magic. I love makeup so much. I can't even talk about it. It's like amazing. I don't think I can properly put into words how cool I think this is. It's just so cool. And you get to wash it off at the end of the day. You don't have to have a facelift or stick like needles and threads in your face. You know what I mean? So much fun. Okay, now once again, check it out. You gotta check it out. Okay, yeah. See, now when I do a little bit of double chin here, this is not perfectly blended. So I'm just gonna gently diffuse this area. I actually wiped my brush off on a little bit of a paper towel so that I'm not bringing in any extra product. Oh, you can't really hear me when I'm turned this way. So I'm not applying any extra product. I'm just diffusing what's already put down so that it blends into the skin. And then, same thing, just barely touching my skin. Just diffusing down the neck slightly so that those colors are existing in other places, just in case. You know what I mean? Again, it's those little details. You can, you know, if you have like a off-the-shoulder top or something like that, you can kind of like define in here or take it down the sides of your neck to make it look more natural. Isn't that crazy? Okay, I wasn't gonna show you cheekbones. I was gonna focus this on the lower face, but then I started putting contour on and I was like, I might as well, like, why not? Let's just show you this. So I'm applying my CoverGirl contour stick, and one of the things that I learned, especially having gained a little bit of weight, is my face tends to be like a little bit more wide. Now, the way that like lenses are confusing, like they really are just so confusing. If you see me in real life, I am less nose and I'm more wide face. Like that's just how I look. The difference between like the front camera and the back camera, you know what I mean? So I have experimented with my cheekbone contour a lot throughout my life, but especially having like gained weight, I really like to focus the contour out here. This really works beautifully for my face shape, and I find that it really creates this beautiful lift. And because my cheekbones like if I turn like this, are a little bit, like the cheekbone itself is up a little bit higher. It sort of does this shape, right? Like if you look right there, you can see this, there's my little detail brush. You can see this kind of a line that happens down to that area of the chin that we sort of like pushed back. So it kind of goes like this. So that's how I like to apply my contour. So again, using my 38 brush, I'm using the pointed side to really create that detail. And then I'm just like, I'm really focusing it here. And then I'm just diffusing it. Just diffusing it, like not taking it down super far, not taking it in super far. I think the older you get, the less you want to do that. Like the more strategic you want to be with that placement. I'm just gonna grab that Delium Tools brush and just buff here so that we're nice and blended. You know, so we're keeping that nice, sharp cheekbone contour, which really does lift up that cheekbone, like it super defines it. And look at that color. I mean, it's literally just like the most perfect contour color. You can see the difference there. Typically, I don't use the Sephora contour on my cheekbones, but every once in a while, if it's like an evening, you know, and I know that like light's gonna be a little bit lower, sometimes I will go in and just do like a little, like the teeniest little bit right here, like right there. You know what I mean? Just to amplify. So starting back up near this part of the ear basically. And then once again, just blending out, not taking it down too far and really using that line as our guide, because you don't want to fight your face shape. Okay. I always go back in with whatever I applied my foundation with in this area to just make sure that it's nice and diffused. Beautiful. Now, especially for my skin tone, just doing this can make my face look a little dead. Just like a little bit dead. Like I don't want to just contour, you know what I mean? Like I love contour and bronzer. And I actually have a very in-depth video about the difference between contour and bronzer, which I'll pop up here if you're interested. I'm gonna show you my bronzer just because I've been using this one from Hung Go, this new one, that's really beautiful and I love it so much. So this is the Tan Sculpt Bronzing Contour Balm. Now he uses this as like a face shaper, essentially. For my skin tone, this is quite warm, so that's why I'm using the other products to contour. You can actually see a huge difference for me in the color. Like, holy crap. But I mean, this, like, as soon as you touch it, it's so beautiful. But here, let me give you a little, side-by-side swatch is crazy. This is the shade Present. So I mean, come on, you know what I mean? For me, especially like, I mean, this isn't going anywhere near my lower lash line, my lower jawline, you know? Big difference, big difference. Okay, so we are going to bronze up the face with this. I'm just gonna use my same 38 brush, wiping it off. And this is surprisingly pigmented, which I really appreciate because it ends up being much more accessible for a multitude of skin tones. So if you are pale like me, you don't need to use a lot, all right? So I'm gonna tap my brush gently, just kind of like boop, boop, boop. You can kind of feel the brush like bouncing off. And then I'm just gonna buff, just to check. Okay, so I've got like I don't have too much on, really buff it. You see how soft that is? Oh, Jesus, it's so beautiful. Like it really blends so nicely. And what I like to do is go just ever so slightly above where I applied the contour and just hug the cheek. Now I'm actually going in almost an opposite shape here. Whereas my contour went a little bit like this, my bronzer is gonna kind of go like this. So we're like blending it up into the temple and then gently diffusing. Okay. So you can see the difference between that warmth and we're still maintaining that contour, that nice shape. I think one of the things that people tend to forget is that the application is everything. How you're holding your brush, how much the brush is touching your face, how much product is on the brush. I'm barely touching my skin. Okay, beautiful. Defined cheekbones, a little bit more warmth. Picking up a little bit more, and I'm gonna focus this just above the tail of the brow, and then slowly diffuse upward into the hairline. Again, with just gentle patting motions and using that point around my hairline to save my, I mean, my roots have grown out a little bit, but to save my beautiful platinum locks. My long, beautiful platinum locks. Isn't that beautiful? It's so soft. Like so soft and blurred. I love it. It really creates, like, for me, it creates a really beautiful amount of warmth to the face. And I was worried when I first swatched, or when I first like looked at it in the pan, I was like, oh no, is it gonna be too red? But it's actually got like quite a nice sort of golden tone to it, which I like for my warm olive skin, or neutral warm olive skin. Bit of a chameleon over here. Okay, while we're here, I do want to just show you how I use the contour powder from Etude. So this is like something that sometimes I'll use on its own. This is beautiful if you're looking specifically for these types of shades. Like a really beautiful, like soft blendable powder to contour. If you don't like creams, you know, like maybe you're like a really oily person, you try to avoid them or something. So obviously this is like so beautiful. I mean, it's like basically the same as the CoverGirl. And then I like this as an option to mix when I'm working with my cheekbones. So I'll show you that. So, where'd it go? So I'm just gonna take my 38 brush and my Sigma switch and really buff to clean it off. This really like helps pull off all that product a hell of a lot better than a paper towel, if you're someone who uses paper towels. So that you can switch between creams and powders, which is what this brush is meant for. So to just do a little bit of reinforcing when I want to be like a little bit more glam, what I do is I like to tap back and forth between these two colors. So we're sort of gonna marry the contour and the bronzer. Not that this is as warm as the bronzer that I used, but it's a little bit warmer than the contour. So I'm tapping off my brush, and then same thing. I'm just gonna start in here. Okay, and I'm just going to set this contour, the softest application in the world. I'm gonna marry those two colors together, and this is really gonna lock them in place if you're someone who struggles with your makeup disappearing. It really, really creates that like undeniable dimension when you layer light layers of creams and powders. And I have no setting, I haven't used any setting powder, so I'm basically like setting this technique. Gorge. I mean, are you kidding me? Now look at just this cheek compared to this cheek. You know what I mean? Like we've like, oh, undeniable. The blend is undeniable. The color, undeniable. The cheekbone, undeniable. I mean, how dare you? Like, how dare you think anything other than undeniable? Amazing. Just do the other on the other side, the other on the other side. I really pay attention to how I'm holding my brush. I don't know if you can hear it because my mic is like right there. It's so gentle, it's like barely touching my skin. I'm just bringing everything together. Let your inner artist out, okay? Gorgeous. It just looks finished. It looks finished. It looks refined. It looks intentional. It looks seamless. It looks professional. Did I say that? It looks red carpet. It looks expensive. So beautiful. And you can also, you know, use this on your lower jawline. I would say that I'm pretty happy with what we got going on here. But sometimes, you know, like, again, if it's in the evening, if it's a dinner, or if I'm going to like an event or something and I want to be real snatched, I will reinforce. Oh, I just fucking stabbed my chin. I will reinforce down. Yeah, fuck it, let's just do it. And sometimes I will actually use a little bit of the warmth, just like dabs of the warmth. Because it's such a soft powder. And again, those subtle color variations, they just make everything seem more like skin. If you have like a little bit of this color up here and here, like look at a painting. I died watching Lisa Eldridge's like series that she did about olive skin recently, and she was talking about paintings, like looking at like an old master's painting and all the different colors that exist. Like if you look at a painting and you step far away, one of my favorite painters in the entire world is a Sargent. I mean, I feel like she referenced it. Maybe she just told me that Sargent was her favorite. If you look at a painting from far away, think like a Monet, it looks like one thing, right? You see like a skin tone or whatever, but then when you go up close, you see all these tiny little like greens and blues and purples. So when you're doing your makeup, you're painting. You're painting, okay? You're painting, you're sculpting. We're sculpting right now. You want to think like an artist. Go to a museum. Go to a museum. Look at some paint. Just look at some paint. Are you kidding? Amazing. Fabulous. Perfection. Snatched. Okay, so I just finished off my face, obviously. You know, the rest of just like highlight and blush and all. Look at that. Oh, wait. Stop. Look at it. Just stop and look at the cheek. Stop and look at that cheek. Just take a second, you know, to just take it in. This is the finished look altogether. I also went and took a quick look in different lighting, which is super important. So please keep that in mind. I'm in studio lighting right now, but natural lighting, low light, like going into my bedroom when it's like a little bit low lit, you want to make sure that there aren't any little spots that just look a little bit crazy. Or like maybe you applied a little too much and in direct sunlight, you know, direct sunlight can be very flattering. It sort of like diffuses everything. In those low light situations, that's where you want to make sure that you didn't apply just like a chunk somewhere and didn't blend it. You know what I mean? And when you're doing your own makeup and you're working on the side of your face, hand mirrors, bro, hand mirror. 2 mirrors. All right, guys, I hope that this was helpful in some way. I feel like these are the topics that I really, really care about, that I really enjoy going over, especially when it comes to teaching. Technique. There's so many techniques, and it really takes like experimentation. And I know that I harp on this so much, but like makeup should be fun. It should be playful. And I want, like, if you are someone who is, you know, engaging in contour to refine features, I want you to think about it more so from a curious standpoint, a curiosity and like a playfulness and sort of a fascination with like the art form rather than I feel bad about myself and I need to change this thing. Like I said, if you are interested in a more like real conversation about this topic, let me know. Happy to film that. And let me know if there are any other structural videos that you want to see me talk about. I feel like I've covered everything at this point, but there might be something out there that I'm missing. So let me know. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and blah, 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 whatever. Turn on notifications. I don't know. Become a member if you want to help support my channel. I haven't been live in a while, but at some point that'll happen again. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. Okay, bye.